Okay, listen, Kurt Wilson Beats on Bites. Today we have a real treat. Mr. M.B. Gordy, a man who plays percussion, drums, does pretty much anything you can hit and make noise with. This is the guy that does it. So M.B. is here. He is here, live. I mean, you are one of my favorite people on the planet. And the fact that you're a talented cat that does like every weird thing in the world, it's always interesting stories. So first, I want to start a little bit. I've never asked you this question. What got you interested in music?
It had to have been just the era that I grew up in, and the Beatles. I mean, listening to the Beatles, and all the Stones and the Dave Clark Five, and you name it, whatever was happening in their early, mid, and late 60s. It was like my buddies and I on the street would, we wanted to be the Beatles, and we didn't have any instruments or anything, so we just grabbed baseball bats.
So actually, you wanted to be the Ramones, is what you wanted to do.
Right. Yeah, right. So we're just faking like we're playing, like whatever. And then that led to, I think I got a Hawaiian drum set, and then I got this plastic Beatles snare drum, and then whatever.
I bet you wish you still had that, probably worth some money.
I do wish I still had that. They offered music lessons, like you had to get out of class, but like I was in elementary school. I was 9, I think, at that time. It seemed like 11 was another jumping point, and then 13, like every couple of years, I would and this, by the time I was in junior high school, it was like I saved up and bought my first Kent drum set. And then that led to, then we just put a band together, we started playing music. And then that led to just like all my friends and then I started taking serious drum lessons, and this guy named Buddy Isaacson in Salisbury, Maryland. And all my friends who were drummers were going like, dude, you got to be in the school band. I was like, school band? Whoa, I mean, you got to be good to be in the school band.
And that's where you get chicks, right?
You're right. Well, I was playing sports.
You did the marching band.
Right. So, but until I got the crap beat out of me playing football, and I stopped.
Exactly.
So then I finally did in high school join the high school band, and it was like, oh, why didn't I do this a long time ago? So, and I think it was again more of like just like the Beatles, a band. I want to be in a band,
Yeah.
So all these years later, now I'm in a Grammy winning band, but that's a whole nother story.
But you got there.
I know, but that was never the intent. That was never the intent.
It's probably not a straight path, as nobody's success is.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
No, that's phenomenal. Now, did you ever have a quote unquote plan B, as far as if music didn't work out?
Well, in undergraduate school, I started with a plan B, which was music education.
Okay.
But the one teacher I had at Glassboro, she was influential in me changing that course.
Really?
Yeah, not because she wanted to, only because it was not a good scene. It was not a good mix.
Oh, really?
If you pass that class, then you can go on eventually, then the next year you'd be doing your student teaching. But if you don't pass that class, you can't take that class again that fall until the next fall. You can't take it in the spring. Wow. So that would have put me a year behind. And I was like, I can't do this, man. So I freaked out over a whole Thanksgiving weekend, visiting my folks at Thanksgiving time that year, and drove back up, and I just went back. I went into her class that Monday, and I just said, Mrs. Williams, I don't see how I'm going to possibly pass this class. I just said, so I would like to take a withdrawal for the class. And she like stops and slams the books down on her desk and just stares at me, and she goes, after all the work I've done. And I looked at her and I went, then I was like ticked, right? And I said, you can give me a withdrawal or not. I won't be there Monday. And I'm done. So your choice. And I turned around and walked out. And I never looked back. And I used to tell that story when I got to Cal Arts. Like, again, here we're back to that insecurity thing of like,
yeah.
Well, I was already planning on being doing a junior recital plus a senior recital, which you didn't have to do as a music education major, but you did as a performance major.
Okay.
But in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, performance major, but you got it. That's for the really good musicians, man. Yeah. Well, now I'm in a position where it's like, there's no looking back now, because I just bailed on the music ed part.
Right.
So I have to make this happen. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, unbeknownst to her, I'm not so sure she intended that, but I said that to somebody in graduate school when I got to Cal Arts, and they said, dude, she did you a favor. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was a total whatever. And they go like, dude, she did you a solid, man, because you weren't making the choice. She made that choice for you.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I never thought about it that way. And it's like, maybe she did actually know something. Maybe she was busting my chops waiting for this to happen. I don't think she did. But it could have been some undercurrent metaphysical, whatever stuff going on there that was like, let's test this, you know what I mean? And then the rest was history. After that, I chose Cal Arts, went to Cal Arts, got into the world music thing, and that's where that kind of springboard went. Pushed me into this and that and the other thing. And I studied Indian music there, and Balinese and Javanese gamelan, and the African ensemble, which at that time was strictly Ghanaian Awe tribe drumming. For me, given too many choices, I'm not necessarily the greatest decision maker. Mm. But that's the way I work. I mean, I remember when I bought my first nice car, I bought this Acura. And it took me like, I'd look at cars and look at cars. It took me like a year and a half to finally decide which car I was going to buy. Yeah. So I remember when I bought this one car that we have now, this Mercedes that I've had now for like 9 years. I love this car, but anyway, the guy was trying to push me, like, of course, as they do. Dude, let me explain something to you. I'm not deciding this in the next half hour. You're looking at somebody who took a year and a half to decide to buy his first car. I take that back. My first car I bought from your father.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
That was my first band. So and that was like kind of like got to go do this. Yeah. And that even took me a while to make that choice. But so I realized through that process that I cannot have, if I'm ever going to make a decision, I can't have too many options. Right? I need to get it narrowed down to 2 or 3, and it's like, okay, I got to decide. Let's go. That's why, to be honest with you, if somebody was to say to me, look, dude, you got to decide, what are you doing? Are you playing drum set? Are you playing hand percussion? Are you playing classical percussion? What are you doing here, man? You need to decide what it's going to be and pick. I would pretty much go like, well, I guess you're going to have to just do something with me and throw me off a cliff or something, because I'm not deciding that. Because I like all these elements of what I do. I like the variety of it. I mean, if I only played drum set, I wouldn't be in this Grammy winning band at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I would have never played percussion. So it's a trade-off here. I mean, that's the thing, man.
See, I think it's great because you have, it's like a kid. Somebody told me this years ago. You, as a kid, you wake up and you might go hiking, you might go swimming, you might play basketball, you might play football. You do all this stuff in one day. And as adults, we're expected to go from here to our house to a 9-to-5 job and come back. Nobody in their right mind wants to do the same old thing over and over again. Nobody. So the fact that you have these choices and the fact that you have this skill base where you'll get a timpani call, you'll get a percussion call, you get a drum, it's like, damn, that's what I'm doing today. That'll be awesome. You've got this newness of every gig that you do that's sort of fresh and exciting.
It so far has been able to sustain the what's the word, the interest factor, I guess, because of the variety. Right. And I just, and I know you do too, like a lot of different types of music, and I know that there's certain musics that just aren't my thing, I mean, it's just not my vibe. It's not my jam. Yeah. To be honest, there is some hip hop stuff and rap stuff that I like, but it's not my go-to music.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I like that influence because of the rhythm element base of it. But then if you listen to I can't say that I like hardcore. I'm talking if you want to go back to country western, but man, I could listen to Chet Atkins all day. But if you listen to any of the current country music today, which I like a lot of, like Maren Morris, and the list goes on and on and on. It's not just country, man. It's pop. There's funk in it. There's hip hop in it. There's a whole lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I love that variety, man. I love 20, well, now what would be 21st century music.
Hi guys, enjoying the heck out of this conversation with MB Gordy. Just a phenomenal talent, great guy. One of the things that hit me was interesting is a lot of his musical path was really begun with the traditional musical education that happened in schools, or used to happen. No longer happens. Art education, music education, even theater arts has disappeared from a lot of our elementary schools, middle schools, some high schools. All of the choices, all of the opportunities, all of the selections that you have in front of you really dictate where your path takes you. It's so important that we realize how important music, art, acting, all of those things are that inform and shape our view of the world and our experience of the world. So please support, whenever you can, the arts, because it's something that if it disappears, life will be drastically different and not better. Thanks for being here. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so I let you know when new things are coming up. The next segment with MB, we're going to talk about how he gets in the studio game. Creates his own studio, how that impacts his professional life, his creative life. It's a great story. It's a great tale. So look forward to sharing it with you. Thanks so much for being here. Kurt Wilson, Beats on Bites.